Hi, this is Anne Sietsma. I'm with the University of Leeds, and together with some colleagues, I've been trying to map out the evidence around climate change and health. Now, using traditional systematic review methods, this would actually be pretty difficult to do because the evidence base is quite large and it's also quite varied. So what we do in this project instead is use machine learning. And we use 4 different types of machine learning. So first we use supervised machine learning, a support vector machine, to extrapolate from data that we labeled by hand what kind of studies are actually relevant here. So what studies from this much larger query are actually discussing both climate change and health. Using that same labeled data set, we also try to predict whether a study is about impacts of climate change or a response to climate change, so either adaptation to the effects of climate change or mitigation of greenhouse gas emissions. Then the third way is to use a pre-trained geoparser. So that's basically an algorithm that recognizes place names so that we can figure out where all those studies are taking place. Then the fourth way we use machine learning is unsupervised machine learning, in this case a topic model. And we use that to try to figure out what is actually being discussed, what kinds of topics are being researched, and how do those different topics relate to each other. Where it gets really interesting, I think, is if we try to put all that together. So we have the locations. We now know that there's a lot of research, for example, coming from North America and from the West in general, plus China, but not so much in much of the global South. And we know also where all those studies are about, so we can figure out which studies or which kinds of topics are being studied more in certain areas. Now, at first glance, a lot of that looks roughly the way you'd expect. So, for example, Latin America has a lot of research into rainfall, and that's associated with dengue, with mosquito, and other vector-borne diseases. Whereas, for example, Asia, particularly China, there's more research into particulate matter, air pollution, but also the associated response, right? So energy policy and greenhouse gas emission pathways. What I think we should also note, though, is what is not visible in this overview, which are the kinds of topics that are actually understudied. So this includes things like maternal and child health, undernutrition, but also, for example, mental health. So these are pretty large evidence gaps, and combined with the uneven geographical distribution, we think those are clearly some things that need addressing. And we actually wrote a second paper looking into in a more qualitative way into the studies that are taking place in lower and middle income countries. So I highly invite you to have a look at both this poster and the associated papers, the first one being in the Lancet Planetary Health, and the second more qualitative paper being published in Environmental Research Letters. Thank you very much.